most people call me Moldover, and I'm an electronic musician, among other things. Most people know me because I guess the first thing that caught a lot of people's attention was a video I made in 2007, which I kind of designed to coin a term for the stuff I was doing that a lot of other people called other names, and I thought I could use a new name. So I'll play like a little bit of the video because it yeah, it made some waves. Hey, how's it going? My name's Moldover, and I'm a controllerist. Controllerism is just like turntablism, but instead of using turntables and a mixer to make music, I use software and a controller.
Up like steak and take. Go crush on the hall. Game is my chance. When we get on the court, I'm gonna stick yo. Do you ever when I'm here to say that I can rock the world like a go crush on the phone and on the beat. Yeah, everybody know I can feel. I'm the beat, gotta rock on this C4. Been 9 years old, playing this sport. Pro AD. Instead of jump shot,
Thanks. But yeah, so that is not an uncommon thing to see on YouTube now at all, but it was kind of special in its time. And was more special as I followed up that routine with like 12 minutes of explaining all the crazy stuff that I had done to kind of hack together Ableton and Reactor and take several disparate MIDI controllers like a Chaos Pad and a Kurzweil Expression Mate and this Novation Remote 25 and hack those together into something that was more expressive and ergonomic and basically like break down all the behind the scenes stuff and all the kind of theoretical ideas, you know, why is my laptop over on the side in that thing, you know, and why are things laid out the way they are, and how to do stuff you couldn't do with Ableton by default at that time, like have one knob that controls many different things. So yeah, so it caught the attention of a lot of people who were interested in making music in a similar kind of way, and it had the benefit of working as I hoped it would, to kind of establish a new term for that kind of way of performing music, because, you know, people have been doing that kind of thing in some form or another since, you know, I'd say since, you know, electronic music existed, early days of computer music, and I don't know, if there was a true father of controllerism, it would probably be like Max Matthews or Bob Moog or somebody like that. Yeah, I was just frustrated at like how few people kind of understood those possibilities, you know, in my peer group, and also frustrated when I go to perform and I'd see performances that I thought lacked a lot of the qualities that I really enjoy in music performance. And so drawing on inspiration from a lot of like, you know, traditional music performance stuff that's been around forever, and then also on more recent innovative stuff like turntablism routines and the culture that grew up around EMC battles. I put that together. So yeah, that's why they call me the godfather of controllerism. I think the next 3 slides are supposed to name drop and convince you how like famous and awesome I am, but they're pretty terrible slides because I'm not great at like, hey, can I get a selfie with you? So instead I have a picture of a controller I built for Bassnectar. Actually built 4. So that's pretty cool. That was just taking my abilities as an instrument builder, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and executing those for somebody who needed a controller that did not yet exist. This is me playing one of my instruments with will.i.am. This was like a promotional kind of thing that we did in St. Louis at a high school robotics competition. It was super fun. And this I spent a bunch of time on last year, which is working with this guy, Hart, who is one of the percussionists for the Grateful Dead. And these are, again, terrible photos, but they represent some little pieces of this enormously complex array of electronic music equipment that he performs with live. And now McKay can tell you about that too, because roped him into that situation. And here's an even worse photo of DJ Shadow rehearsing for the tour that he's on right now. And I helped him set up a APC 40 with a custom interactive template, and did a bunch of Ableton programming and stuff. And that was super fun because I'm a fan of his music and super cool guy. So that was yeah, it's kind of satisfying to take my work and use it for the benefit of other artists. Been doing stuff along those lines for a long time. But what I really want to talk about is 4-track, because this is the project I've been working on for about 5 years now, and it's where most of my effort has gone. On the side, I do, stuff for those other artists and other kinds of gigs too, composing and excerpts. I have some excerpts of music from the record just so you get an idea, like the kind of sounds I've been making. So it's just a little montage.
I won't fall back to you. I won't fall back. I won't fall back to you. I won't fall back. I know your freedom is fuel and your voice is the flame. Throw your fist in the air and tell me what we claim. The system is breaking. The world is waking. The system is breaking. You scream aloud, become the sound. Let it out before it drags you down. Pick it up before it hits the
So yeah, there's 13 tracks, hidden track, whole bunch of music, which was the focus of it, but there's been a lot of other stuff that was kind of part of the project, which I'll talk about too. And this too, I'll talk about that more. So why is it called 4-track? There's not 4 tracks on the record. There's 13 tracks. It's called 4-track because of this thing. Anybody ever work with one of these? Watch you. Wow, okay, cool. Yeah, this is a thing I convinced my dad to buy for me when I was probably about 14 or 15. I decided I had to become a rock star, and I was not awesome at starting bands. That's what I did a bunch in high school and then on into college, and even after that when I moved to New York. But I was really good at learning lots of different things about lots of different musical activities. So I kind of taught myself to play drums and guitar and sing. And I was really stoked at the ability to multi-track myself with this device, using those instruments and kind of put together my own sounds. And that became the inspiration for this record, where it's kind of like the third reinvention of my whole like Moldover universe, where the first one you saw in that first video, where I was like mashing up well-known or relatively well-known samples of other people's music and pop culture. And then I went through a phase of doing this like very complicated IDM-esque, very, composerly electronic music inspired by artists like Square Pusher and Eamon Tobin. And now I'm going back to my roots and writing songs again and singing and doing more like the stuff I was doing as a young person, but kind of reinvented. So, yeah. In the process, I made some instruments. That was kind of an evolution out of those early performances, like you saw in that video too. In that video, you saw that like hacked up keyboard controller, and that was the second phase after working with an unhacked up keyboard controller for a while, and then saying like, this doesn't do what I want. I'm going to modify it and get it to do what I want. I wound up with that thing, which was pretty cool, but in the end, it was kind of impaired by the way that I'd hacked it. And so when I started traveling with it and putting it through the rigors of just going in and out of bags and stuff, and things started breaking off, and I'm spending time. I want to be practicing, trying to like glue the thing back together. So that led me to like building something from scratch, but based on that, and that's where the Mojo came. And so that I was mentored by a couple people who had built controllers before me, and I worked on making something that was really ergonomic, so you can kind of see roughly the shape of two hands, especially here on the right side where those arc of buttons are designed to lay just where your hand would naturally. And same with the faders and all those touch strips. People ask what these things are. They're all touch strips or ribbon controllers. Those are really expressive ways to play with effects, which is a lot of what I do. It's like triggering sounds for the computer to play and then affecting those. And that's a big part of my performances, and that's basically what I do with the Mojo. The most recent one, which I'm actually going to show you guys cool prototypes of tonight, called the MC1, which is essentially an augmented microphone controller, and I'm still prototyping this one. There were many prototypes of this. Well, not many. There was, let's say, that hacked up keyboard and then one more that was built from scratch. But this one I've made a whole bunch, so I'll show you some of those maybe at the end of the talk. But basically it's buttons on a microphone. Not terribly revolutionary, but pretty fun in performance. A lot of people enjoy it, and I definitely enjoy playing with it. And I made this, which is called the Robocaster, which is an augmented guitar. And this was a collaboration between myself and a guitar builder based out of Oakland called Visionary Instruments. It's basically one guy, Ben Lurie, who builds these really beautiful custom guitars made from scratch. And so we kind of took his skills and my skills together and built this highly ergonomic controller into a custom electric guitar, and it's pretty cool. I use it mostly to play effects, so the same kind of things you would do with your foot pedals, turning things on and off, rocking your foot back and forward to do wah or tone or pitch control, but being able to articulate those things with my fingers and using the techniques that I developed playing in Mojo and applying that to guitar effects. I found a few ways to do guitar sounds that I never kind of dreamed would exist before, and that was definitely fulfilling one of my rock star dreams of like having a unique voice on the guitar. So that was a win. And grew out of that. This isn't really part of the whole 4-track world, but it's pretty cool to mention because this is sort of one of the first widely commercially available instruments I've made, and it's a direct descendant of the Robocaster, where basically the ergonomics I came up with for this and the way that it's mapped to control effects and uses a lot of guitar technique. It's basically like, how would a guitar player play a controller? What would be the most natural, basically techniques and gestures to translate to a guitar? And I took that straight to this thing, which I made with a company called Live Instruments, and made this cool thing in just a matter of months. And it's like an attachment, kind of attach it onto an existing electric guitar, and it's a wireless, pressure sensitive, position sensitive controller. And yeah, you can do a lot with it. I think this is a video. I hope this is a video. I never got great at playing it because I've got this thing, right? Which is an amazing instrument. So I'm stoked that other people have done amazing things. I hope this video works. So yeah, that's cool. He's doing even more complicated stuff with the guitar wing than I do with the Robocaster. He's got MIDI guitar and regular guitar mixed together, and some backing tracks, and but it's pretty cool. So that's exciting for me because it does one of the things I'm really passionate about, which is empower other people. I don't just want to like glorify my own works and my own ego, but it's really kind of exciting for me to inspire other people and also help provide them with the tools of creation that I didn't have access to when I started whatever I'm doing. So for me, that was really gratifying because like the Robocaster and the Mojo before it were both things that I made copies of and sold to other artists, other music makers. But because they were so complex and boutique, and I'm not a manufacturer like Livid Instruments is, they had to be really expensive, and not that many people could access them. So, anyways, this was kind of another win. So a lot of wins. This is one of the crazier things I do. This is one that I kind of keep a little bit distant from other Moldover things. I build these things called Jamboxes, which are essentially like, hey, this stuff is fun, but I do it all by myself. And like, it'd be cool if we could give people who don't have this electronic music background and training the opportunity to like jam with sounds the way that I do. Because once you set up a system, do all the technical stuff, ideally, like I like for my instruments to be really fun to play. Like for me too. Like I don't want it to be like doing algebra or something. You know, I want it to be like I bang on stuff and I move stuff and rhythms and cool sounds result. So anyways, this is a way to kind of realize 4-track for other people to play interactively in person at events. And so I set these up at festivals and where? Parties. There'll be one at the party on Saturday, and actually there'll be one of these and then another different design. But these are really fun. It's a whole other universe of Jamboxes, and Connect Table is the newest one. And those are 2 prototypes. So, yeah. The whole thing was also a Kickstarter. I could talk your ear off about crowdfunding if you're interested. It's the first like official crowdfunding thing I've done since crowdfunding became a term. When was that? Maybe 4 or 5 years ago or something. But I've been doing that kind of thing for a long time, and so it was really awesome to do it in a way that like all of society understands and appreciates and has a new name for, you know, versus like, hey, donate to my album or pre-order my album or something like that. It was like, it's a Kickstarter, it's crowdfunding, you know what it is. So maybe I could talk about that more later. And then this, I don't know how to segue this, but yeah, this is good to explain because this is one of my other, you know, that video I showed you earlier, that was my first like blip on the radar of like a bigger world where a lot of people took notice of what I was doing. And this is the second one. So this is a video I made when I released my first original album. I did a whole bunch of Moldover stuff where I was remixing and improvising these complex multi-layered mashups using Ableton and Reactor. And then I did this whole album full of basically IDM stuff. And I wanted to do something really special with the artwork. So I did this, and I made this video in like an afternoon with a friend, my friend Rich. And I think this cuts in right where I'm explaining the thing. I've been working on this music for a long time, and I wanted to create some really special artwork to go with it. With the help of some new friends here in San Francisco, I learned how to design custom circuit boards. Check it out. All the track titles and the album artwork are actually written in circuitry. It holds a CD right in the middle. It fits in a regular CD case. And it's actually a musical instrument. If you press this button here, it makes sound. And you can change the sound by playing with these 2 light sensors. It even has a headphone jack, so you can plug it in and record your own tracks. Rock out on the train. It's good. This is improvised. Strangers.
Seriously though, what is that?
To a sound system. I also made a smaller version of this all. Yeah. This is a more recent version of it. I kind of redesigned it. The one you saw in the video, that was the first time I ever designed a circuit board. I had somebody kind of mentor me through learning this incredibly obtuse software, which is what everybody apparently uses to design circuit boards, but it's terrible, terrible software. And yeah, so since I've redesigned it a couple of times in a couple of different contexts. But like I was saying, that video was also like virally successful, and the way I was making these, like one at a time by hand, and how much it costs, I didn't know anything about manufacturing. I just figured out how to get little prototype orders of circuit boards and like put the thing together myself in my bedroom. And so my plan was to sell these for like $50 because I was like, yeah, that's how much it costs when you add up all the time and expense. In order for me to make a little profit, I was like, who's going to buy my album for $50? Like, nobody knows who I am. But that video went viral and got several 100,000 hits, and it got on all these tech blogs, and suddenly I had hundreds of orders for this thing for people who'd never heard my music and may not have even cared about my music, but they thought that the CD artwork was incredibly novel. So, yeah, in one measure, that was a great success. So, I wanted to kind of engineer that and repeat that success, and also the cool idea. I mean, it was really inspired by other artists who've done more with their album artwork. There's a lot of things you can do. Like with vinyl, for example, there's picture vinyl, colored vinyl, there's inserts in there, there's, I remember CDs, some of the CDs I got when I was a kid, there'd be like a hidden picture if you popped out that black tray behind the CD, and or like a transparent, like a booklet, the two images were made to like overlap each other, so you had to know to like hold it up to the light, but then you could see the superimposition of the two images together to make a new work. And so I was just always stoked on that stuff. I just love all different forms of creativity, and if you give me enough time and a chance, I will shove as many cool little things into my work as possible. And I did a whole bunch of other stuff with like, you can see this is actually a solution to a maze that lies underneath, and the solution exposes different symbols in the symbology. And if you solve the maze, it actually connects to the backside where the tracks are labeled or listed, and there's a symbol tied to each song, and it's super, super geeky. So you can come check this out if you want, and we'll even plug it in so you can play it. Anyways, that was pretty cool. So I wanted to kind of reinvent it for 4-track, and I came up with this. This is also a video. Let's see. I spent the last 9 months designing a new piece of circuit board artwork for the album. It's shaped like an old school cassette tape, it's got a USB drive to hold the music, and the circuitry is a new instrument I call the voice crusher. It's battery powered with a built-in microphone and speaker, so you can use it anywhere.
In the garden. In the car. In the bathroom.
It's even got input and output jacks, so you can connect it to practically anything. Yeah, so that was kind of a focus of the Kickstarter campaign I did, and it was successful. I think that's the reason why it was successful. Is I kind of I've crossed over into this weird space between like I'm making an album and it's an art project, and I'm making like a cool electronic noise making gadget. So it's kind of a unique sort of artifact.
Is that like a big crusher plus ring mod? Or?
It is. It's a pitch shifter. You get ring modulator sounds from it because. Just to demonstrate. So in essence, it's a pitch shifter. It's an 8 kilohertz 8-bit pitch shifter. So it's like really low fidelity. So you can pitch you can change the pitch of the sound. You can change the sample rate with this knob. You can bend the pitch with this touch sensor. You can do feedback. I made an internal feedback loop. And you can do acoustic feedback. And depending on where all the things are set, you can get some pretty interesting.
Can you use that on your like guitar pickup? And
You can stick it up next to your pickup. You can do It's got input too, so you can run stuff besides this microphone through it. And there's also, there's a whole sort of practice in instrument design there where I tried to make it ergonomic so you can hold it and tap these buttons, and it's kind of like an ocarina in the fingering, if you will. And it's much more, I think it's a much more interesting and rich instrument, if you will. But it doesn't make beautiful sounds. It makes crushed sounds.
That's not beautiful.
That's a good point.
Is that
Totally beautiful.
That's what he said.
Are you like prototyping on an Arduino or something, or or is that a secret?
No, there's no secrets. I have a whole other presentation, and chunks of it are in here, talking about how I made this. So everything starts as a sketch in the notebook. I looked at like other ideas, like besides this one, a lot of ideas I was like with the CD. I was like, oh, maybe I could fit a cassette in the case with the instrument, and that turned out to be really hard. And I was like, do people really want a cassette? Do people even really want CDs anymore? I don't know. So the USB drive and those things. And made my first schematic, like the light theremin. The circuit for this is actually, the noise-making circuit for this is so simple, like barely even need a schematic. You could draw it with a tiny number of lines. But another friend mentored me through learning how to make schematics and learning how to do breadboard. Breadboard is a tool for where you can just use your hands. You don't need to solder anything, and you can wire up all the components. And this is the guy, Mitch Altman, who helped me with all that stuff. He's a local guy. He started Noise Bridge, which is San Francisco hackerspace.
He also holds the world's record for the most people taught how to solder. That's in the Guinness Book of World Records.
I did not know that.
Oh, yes, that is. And he also invented the TV Be Gone.
TV Be Gone's great.
Oh yeah? You go clap, turn the TV off. You go to a bar and you like the TV. He's a trip.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He actually, with the soldering workshops, he convinced me to turn this into a kit. So I've done a lot of, I'm going on tour next month, and one of the things I do to fill in gaps in my tour where it's like, I'm in Iowa, I don't know anybody in Iowa, and I didn't have time to book a show, and whatever. So I'll go to Iowa's hackerspace. There's hackerspaces everywhere, and I'll do a soldering workshop where I teach people how to solder and make light thermins using this as a kit. So that was one of his ideas too. It was like, hey, you could totally turn that into a kit. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. So it's good stuff. That's a picture of the circuit design, which is a lot more complicated. But it came out great. So that is the Voice Crusher. A lot of photos of the Voice Crusher. Last talk I did, I was talking to some Uber tech people, and so I got into the how this thing was designed and what it was like to work with a manufacturer. And instead of these, where I've made I think something like 1,600 of these, and they're all made by hand by me or somebody helping me here in the States. Didn't want to do that again with these, especially because there's about 10 times as many components on this thing. So I worked with the manufacturer. I worked with the same one that Mitch works with, and went through this very painful process of learning how to have goods manufactured in China. So this is just, that's how we learned to communicate best, was pictures, where it's they sent me all these microphones to pick which one I wanted. And I'm I don't know how to type that up. These are both 9.45 millimeters, but I don't know, whatever. So I'd send them a picture with a big arrow. And they'd send me one back and be like, yo, move these things out of the way. This is not going to work. And I'd be like, I need good glue. Must hold this entire weight of this thing when we glue the USB drive on there. And they'd be like, we have good glue. So, long story short, it's really hard. I mean, it was good. It's I almost spent as much effort as it would have taken me to build these things here in San Francisco as I did learning how to be a manufacturer and a product designer and all that stuff. But I think it was worth it. I'm glad I learned new things, and I got my voice crushers, and there they are. Yay! It's me with a beard. And I made other cool little spin-off things.
Marco Miniman there.
Like who?
Marco Miniman, the drummer. I don't know, he's a progressive rock drummer. He's great. He really looked like it.
Yeah. Cool. I like that look. I might go back to the beard. Definitely need to grow the hair out. This is a haircut yesterday. I made little miniature pins. I made instruction card because it's more complicated than the voice crusher, and regular people wind up with these things. This room is probably full of people who'd be happy to sit there and tweak and make weird noises. But other people are going to look at this thing and be like, where is the on switch? I've never seen anything like this. So I made these cards to help people out and explain some concepts, again, that you guys probably know, like internal feedback and input and output and battery replacement. You'd be surprised how many people don't know their coin cell battery replacement operations. So yeah, and I made some custom ones for people, and I made a kit that I haven't released, and I don't know if I will release it or not. And I just got so into stuffing more art in here. I made a hidden track by burying. I was like, how do you hide a track? You used to have like a CD, and at the end there'd be like extra long track with a bunch of silence, and you hear it if you just let the thing play. There's all different ways to hide tracks on different media. How do you hide a track on a USB drive? Came with the idea you could build a crazy complex folder structure. So I worked with a programmer. She's local, Jamie Schwetman. She's super cool, and we got the database of the what do you call it? The taxonomic classification of all living things on the planet, of which there's a lot. And you can download that as a database. And if you have Jamie's skills and you convince her and spend enough time, convincing her, you could write a program that will convert those into a folder tree, and inside that folder tree somewhere there's a hidden track.
You want to give any hints?
You could just search for star.mp3. It's not, the trick was kind of hide it, but you want people to find it. It's not you could just search and find
So
it.
you could turn the hidden file after you or something, but never find that thing.
How to use a white font with white
Invisible ink. I made a mini one for people that don't want to spend lots of money on an album. That was using the same circuit board. Just made little mini custom printed circuit boards and put drives on them. Oh, and then I made a music video. Want to watch a little bit of the music video?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go too long. Okay.
What is it?
Oh, hey. What's up? My name is Moldover, and I'm really excited because my album 4-track is done. And here is a copy of it. Not only is it a USB drive shaped like a cassette, but it's also a musical instrument called the Voice Crusher. Check it out. Look at me like that. I won't play dumb cause I'm not blind. I won't play games, I ain't that kind. I won't sympathize about you moaning and whine. Look at my face, I know you're fine. I am not your nipper. Don't you look at me like that. No, no, I am not your nipper. Don't you look at me like that. I've seen those eyes before. can't see me for me. I am not your neighbor. Don't you look at me like that. No, no, I am not your neighbor. Don't you look at me like that. No, whoa, whoa, I am not your neighbor. I said, don't you look at me, don't you look at me, no, no. Don't you look at me, don't you look at me, no, no. Don't you look at me, don't you look at me, no, no. Don't you look at me like that. Like that. Don't you look at me like that. Like that. Don't you look at me like that.
You still have the silver hoodie?
What's that?
You still have the silver hoodie?
I do, yeah. Anybody know where I got that outfit? No? Oh, there's a few. It's Beta Brand. They're a local clothing brand, and they generously gave me that jumpsuit so I could look like a circuit. So yeah, interesting post story to that. That's the first, like, well, I guess I made other things kind of like it, but yeah, trying to get into this like more like pop star kind of vibe. So yeah, did that intro as a way to segue for some of my fans, I hope. But interesting post story. So we built that whole crazy set. A lot of help from a lot of people. There's credits to that video, which are extensive. We built that whole giant circuit board set in a room in a space called Monument, where I happen to be playing this show on Saturday. They liked the stuff so much that didn't take much convincing from me because I didn't want to tear it all down and restore the room. We turned it into one of their Airbnb rooms. So that's why, if you're wondering, it says video and room. You too, or someone you know, can rent the Moldover room at the Monument Warehouse.
That's sick.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, I just made a cool little placard. And what am I doing now? This is in here because I was talking to these tech people. This is great because my reason for putting this in there was like, hey everybody, I want to make an app. I want to make like a Voice Crusher app. I want to make so people who don't have money to buy Voice Crusher in the physical form can still play with it on their mobile devices. And now a guy is helping me make an app, so I'm pretty stoked. We're going to take this, which is a pure data app, a pure data patch that a friend of mine helped me create, and it's got a lot going on, and we're going to turn it into an app. So there should be a Voice Crusher app soon. And yeah, that's show navigator. That's the wrong slide. That's the right slide. Yeah, I think that's the end of my story, but I'd love to answer any questions or. Yeah, and I'll just show you a little bit of the process because I think this will illuminate. And it just so happens that I have prototypes of the MC1, which you didn't see in that video, but vocals are a new thing for me. I haven't been doing vocals for most of my career. I had to take vocal lessons to figure out what the heck kind of instrument is this. Does this go on a stand? Do I wear a headset and like learn dance moves? Do I keep it on the stand? I don't know what. But I've been grappling with being a vocalist and more of like a front person kind of persona and less of a controllerist, I guess you could say. But I decided like I really want to involve controllers somehow in the way I perform vocally because I'm not going to blow you away with my pitch control or my awesome vocal riffing or my super high rock star range. So I'm going to do something to augment my mic. And so I started with what I usually do, which is what's the shortest path there. And I just got these things from Novation. They're made for sit on the corner of your turntable and add controls to your turntable. And I just started with this to see if it was cool or not, and did one show with it. And I was like, yeah, it's cool. I like being able to control my effects. I like you could have them on pedals, you could have it on a tabletop thing. But I was like, I think it'd be cool to have them on the microphone. I started modifying it a little bit just because I didn't want to accidentally switch modes like you were talking about. So I just removed the mode button, and I wanted to be able to toggle one thing. I like toggle switches, which is toggle buttons. There's always a up, down, up, down. You can feel your toggle. So that was the first one, and then that just didn't fit. I used Velcro, but it didn't really attach to a mic or a mic stand or anything. So, and I was really getting into retro gaming devices at the time. So I modified this just to make it a MIDI controller. I made a little a little expansion port on the back, so I could actually just wire it straight into the Mojo. I wouldn't have to like try and cram a whole brain into this thing. I just connected a bunch of wires to the Mojo. It's still just a bunch of buttons. And this was cool, but the D-pad was really problematic, and the buttons are just kind of too small, and they're made for you to do this. They're not made for you to do this. So a lot of people like seeing that, but it didn't work for me as a performer. And then I got really interested in like, where does the thing go? Like yeah, I know I want it like near the microphone, but I'm not sure if I want it like on the microphone itself or like next to the microphone. Does my microphone go on a stand, a boom stand, a straight stand? Is it something I'm gonna walk around with? I don't know. So I did a kind of similar thing. I made my favorite little button arc situation, and I just attached them to this big badass clip. So I could say like, yo, maybe my buttons go on my left hand, or maybe they go on the microphone. Serious clamp, you know, or maybe they go on the mic stand in front of me, or maybe it moves around in the midst of a performance. So that was kind of the idea with these, was playing around with that, and that led me. That led me to the conclusion of. That was cool because the audience could see it, and I got a lot of comments of like, oh yeah, I could see what you're doing with the mic, and that was so cool. That's one reason to do these things, is to kind of expose and make transparent the technology. But with that, I decided, yeah, like I like the dynamism in a performance where you can like take the mic off the stand and then go walk around. And just as a solo performance, the more sort of different modes of performance I have, I think the more engaging my show can be. So I was like, I want to be able to take it off the stand and have the buttons go with it, and just do that really easily. So I made this one where you kind of like slap the mic in here, and it's made so that you still have all this area unobstructed, and you can still pop it into a clip on a stand and pop it back out. And I used this like microphone adapter to like anchor all this to it. Still just 8 buttons. All these are just 8 buttons. And that's pretty cool, but that was starting to fall apart, and in the end I was like, it's just too big. Like, I don't want it to be like an airplane. It should be a little sleeker. So I was really bummed out this weekend until I just locked myself in my workshop and decided to build a new one of these things. So this one isn't even quite done, but I've been thinking about it for a long time. A lot of the design happens in my head. And so the idea with this one is like, wait, like, don't have to like attach it directly to the microphone. You can make a thing kind of shaped like a microphone that sticks into a mic clip. So imagine there's a mic stand here. And this is made out of the body of an old microphone. So you can stick this into a mic stand clip, and it's made to like receive a microphone. So it's kind of like microphone adapter thingamajig. And I found these smaller buttons. These are like crazy expensive $10 buttons. They're nice and clicky. They have lights in them, so when you press them and it's plugged in, they turn red. I'm adding some more controls, so it's got a little joystick, thumbstick here. I'm leveling up to like, yeah, you know, I got my vocal performance down. I think I can add a little continuous modulation. And it's going to have its own microcontroller in it, using this flavor of Arduino called the Teensy, which is like a really small board, and there's a whole bunch of tools for it that makes it really easy to make your own MIDI controller. So yeah, hopefully I'll be playing this one on Saturday. That's pretty much the plan. So you can check all these things out up here, and you can grab flyers if you're interested in my event on Saturday. And I think I should stop now because I'm getting tired of hearing myself talk. You might be too.
The system is breaking. The world is waking. The system is breaking. The world is